life in Vegas? Consider life in Vegas. So is there a life in Vegas? Chill out and get a life. Watch and learn. Only on VegaslifeTV. Made in Vegas. For all things Vegas. Now you can leave home without leaving home.
Welcome to Wines du Jour. We're in the Green Valley home community, just actually southeast of Las Vegas proper, and we're doing our show Wines du Jour here at a beautiful steakhouse. You know, we call it Bertolucci. That's Humberto Bertolucci and his family own the restaurant, and it's a Brazilian steakhouse. What the heck does that mean? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about what Brazilian steakhouses are all about. You might be familiar with them. As an example, they typically bring your meat to your table on a skewer, a saber, if you will, and slide it off onto your plate. They normally have a little pad. One side of it is green, one side of it is red. When you've had enough, you go from the green side to the red side, and the food servers know not to bring you any more. That's kind of the way it works. You can eat till you fall off the chair if you choose to do so, and the food is scrumptious. Now tonight we're celebrating one of my favorite wineries from Paso Robles, California, Felton Cellars. And Steve Felton has been a friend for a long time, and he's worked at a number of wineries, and he finally got the opportunity to go into business for himself. And we're showcasing his second release now on tonight's show. We have a Sauvignon Blanc, and if you've been watching the show, you know that that's my favorite white wine to go with food. We also have a beautiful Pinot Noir coming actually from the Paso Robles area, but right up close to the Pacific Ocean where it stays cool and breezy most of the time. And I want to introduce you to Humberto Bertolucci when we come back. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after these messages. Welcome back. I promised you that you would meet the owner of this Bertolucci's Brazilian Steakhouse, and he's sitting right next to me. This is an entertainer that owns a restaurant, and you don't see that too often. I'm going to talk a little bit about it. But first of all, Humberto, thank you very much for inviting us to come in and share some hospitality with us and some good food that you've got planned for us to go along with our wines.
Thank you. You're welcome anytime.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. When did you come from Brazil, and what got you to Las Vegas?
Oh my goodness. I came from Brazil like 12 years ago, 2002. And then, because in Brazil we had a lot of problems, you know. The economy is not really nice, not really good like right now. And then I moved to USA because I try to do better, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And then I moved to California, and I have a lot of fun in California. I made a lot of friends. And then after that, I opened a Brazilian products distribution. It's just supply all Brazilian restaurants in California. And then And in 2007, I came to be a broke guy.
Okay.
I broke. I lost a lot of money because our clients, our customers, like restaurants in California, they didn't pay me because they don't have money. It's a recession. It's really
We know
hard.
how that works.
It's tough time.
It's expensive. Yeah.
Expensive. And then, okay, and then I talked to my wife. You know what? Let's go to Las Vegas. It's a cost life. It's cheaper, and then we can start everything again. And here we go. We start open a Brazilian steakhouse. It's a Bertolucci Brazilian Steakhouse. We have it on Google if you want to check it out. And then right now, a lot of people, when we opened this restaurant over here, a lot of people came over here and said, "Oh, I don't think you're gonna go up. You're gonna go up." I said, "Don't worry, I trust myself." And then we just make good food, talk to customers, be polite to the customer like that. And then step by step, we're gonna go up for sure. And then here we go today with my friend Lisa here. And then, everybody come over here and have a lot of fun with karaoke, enjoy the good food, Brazilian flan, a lot of steaks, and then
That's great. Well, now, the Brazilian cuisine is a little bit different than walking into a regular steakhouse and ordering a steak, because you have special meats that you prepare in the kitchen. They're put on a saber.
Oh yeah.
They come out to the individual, and they slide it off the saber onto the plate. Do you have some way of knowing when to quit when they've had more than they can eat? Because it's all you can eat, isn't it?
No, yeah, all you can eat. And then it's really famous in Brazil. It's we call churrascaria. That the real name is churrascaria. And then a lot of people come over here. In Brazil, everywhere you go in Brazil, you can have this kind of restaurants.
I see.
It's a really famous restaurant in Brazil. And then the difference between us and another ones, it's recipe. I do the recipe. I make by myself the recipe, and then because I'm Brazilian, and then we do like 100% Brazilian stuff, Brazilian food.
That's great.
And that's it.
The selections here are very nice. The menu is pretty long. You're not going to come here and say, "I can't find anything I want to order," because that's not going to happen. But if you just come in and order the typical Brazilian steak dinner, you call it, what was the name of it again?
Which one?
What
Churrascaria.
Right. If you want to order that, you can eat as much meat as you want. And most people, by today's standards, don't get carried away like they did, let's say, 15 or 20 years ago. But every bite you take is unbelievable. Umberto, I don't know where he got his recipes in Brazil, but he doesn't share them with anybody, and they're absolutely outstanding. So when you take a bite, you're going to be ready for another one pretty quick. We got to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to start talking about Steve Felton Cellars, or Felton Cellars, and his wines. And the first one, of course, is Sauvignon Blanc. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after these messages.
Switch to DirecTV and find out how to say goodbye to messy cable wires and boxes. America's #1 satellite television provider is the undisputed leader in sports with the most full-time HD channels anywhere. Get DirecTV today and receive a free Genie upgrade. One HD DVR powers your whole home. There's no equipment to buy and no startup costs. Package offers start at just $24.99. There's never been a better time to upgrade your television experience. Call your authorized DirecTV dealer today.
Welcome back. We're talking about a beautiful winery from Paso Robles, California. A lot of people aren't necessarily familiar. They've heard the term Paso Robles. It's a community in the central part of California. It's above Santa Barbara. It's below Santa Cruz or the Bay Area. It sits right about 40 miles inland from the Pacific Ocean. And actually, if you've heard of Hearst Castle, which is a world famous place to visit, it's about 30 miles from there, so it gives you a general idea. The uniqueness of it is that closer to the ocean, the cooler the weather. Even though the sun's out 10 or 12, 14 hours a day, there's a breeze coming off the Pacific Ocean, and that tones down the temperature by about 10 to 15 degrees. So what winemakers have done is they've planted grapes that don't like too much heat closer to the Pacific Ocean there in Paso Robles. It's in Paso Robles, but it's in the western part. And that's what we're talking about today, this first wine. This is Felton Cellars Sauvignon Blanc. This is their 2011 release, which is their first release that Steve was able to make with his new winery. And I have to tell you, it's pretty doggone tasty. I'm going to pour a little bit for Humberto and I, and talk a little bit about it, and then we'll talk about some of the food that we have put together to pair with this Sauvignon Blanc. Now, Sauvignon Blanc is a white wine. It has a lot of acidity and tannin generally. We like to refer to it as about 10 or 15 years ago in particular, we used to talk about some of the aroma as a new mown hay. That's what it smelled like, or new cut grass. Well, they've improved on making Sauvignon Blanc over the year, and that's not gone away, but it's really gone very subdued. So now you see things like green apple, pear, a lot of white fruit, if you will, and when you first taste it, it just kind of fills your mouth with a multitude of flavor. Now, what we like to do when we pour wine is we like to swirl it in the glass for about 10 seconds before we actually smell it. And the reason for that is to get the liquid up on the side of the bowl. Then we can smell it, and I have to tell you, it smells pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And then, of course, after you've done that, it's the time to taste. Let's take a little taste. Gooseberry is something that comes up. The acidity is not too intense, but it's definitely there, and that's one of the reasons it goes so well with food. And so here at Bertolucci's Brazilian Steakhouse, they've taken something that you may have heard of in the past, that you don't think of it necessarily as Brazilian food, but it's universal. They take a grape leaf, yep, we're talking about the vines that these grow on, and they take the grape leaf, prepare a little bit of rice. What else goes in there that you put in yours?
It's a seasoning.
Okay. And then they bake it in the oven for a little while. And what they call it, dolma. D-O-L-M-A. Dolma. It's a universal thing. Now, in America, we don't have that as a typical appetizer. We're familiar with it, but we give credit to the Greeks for it. And frankly, the Greeks were not the people that invented it. It comes from Asia. It came from the Mediterranean area, and of course it does come from Greece. So try a little bit of this with a little bit of Sauvignon Blanc, and I think you'll be a really happy camper. This sells retail now all across the country for about $18, which is about $4 less than it should be, in my opinion. Steve, you can raise your prices if you'd like to, but I can tell you, you need to try it. If you can't find Felton Cellars Sauvignon Blanc in your local retail store, you can go online to feltoncellars.com and see all the wines that Steve makes and order any or all of them, and I recommend that you do that. We've got to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about wine number 2 from Burgundy. Wait a minute, what is Burgundy? Is that a color or is that a town? Well, it's an area. It's a region in France where this Pinot Noir grape first started growing. However, Steve has got it planted over in Paso Robles, and we'll talk specifically about that when we get back. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after these messages.
Is there a life in Vegas? Consider life in Vegas. So is there a life in Vegas? Chill out and get a life. Watch and learn. Only on Vegas Live TV. Made in Vegas. For all things Vegas. without leaving home.
Switch to DirecTV and find out how to say goodbye to messy cable wires and boxes. America's #1 satellite television provider is the undisputed leader in sports with the most full-time HD channels anywhere. Get DirecTV today and receive a free Genie upgrade. One HD DVR powers your whole home. There's no equipment to buy and no startup costs. Package offers start at just $24.99. There's never been a better time to upgrade your television experience. Call your authorized DirecTV dealer today.
Felton Cellars makes a Burgundy in California. Actually, in San Luis Obispo County is where it's located, which again is right along the Pacific Ocean, not too far from Paso Robles. This Pinot Noir is very unique. If you've been watching the show at all over the years, you know that Pinot Noir is the most difficult grape of all grapes in the whole world to grow and make good wine. However, when you find the right terroir, as we call it, or the right soil condition and all the different things that go along with the soil, the weather, how cold it gets, how hot it gets, how much rain, whether it's all at once or spread out over the year, whatever the case may be, that gives the winemaker an indication where to plant the grapes. And Steve has found a gentleman that has planted, I believe it's about 60 acres of Pinot Noir that turns out to be just scrumptious. We have a bottle of it right here. Now, Pinot Noir is very unique. When it's good, it's outstanding. It comes from the Burgundy area, as I mentioned earlier in the show, a little bit about Burgundy, but it actually comes from San Luis Obispo, which I mentioned. That is where the weather is perfect for Pinot Noir. So he ends up with a pretty good product. Now, when you have a great wine, which this is, and you have an opportunity to pair it with a little bit of food, the thing to do is to pair it with food that'll go really well with it. Well, one of the things that Pinot Noir likes is cheese, believe it or not. I mean, there's a lot of other things as well, but cheese is one. It goes great with crab, it goes great with mussels, it goes great with lobster, but it goes well with cheese. You might know it in Brazil, they have a special appetizer that has got cheese in the middle, but it's actually breaded. And I'm going to ask Umberto, tell us a little bit about what this is, and let me cut it in half and take a look. Does that sound
right,
good?
of course.
Okay. Tell us about it.
This cheese bread, we call Brazilian cheese bread, because it's a couple mixed. It's milk and Parmesan cheese, and then we do everything, and it's so fresh. And Brazil, it's really famous. You have a lot of stores in Brazil, and then everywhere you go in Brazil, we have a couple of stores and just sell cheese bread. This one, we have a lot of different kinds. We have cheese bread and cream cheese inside. We have a cheese bread and guava.
Wow,
guava. It's a really good combination for breakfast. They use a lot.
Now, one of the things that you do here, to interrupt you for a second, is that when somebody comes in and orders it, that's when you cook it. You don't cook it in the morning when you get here and serve it at 6 o'clock at night. You not have it taste the way you want it. And that's why we wanted to tell the people
need to be fresh.
Everything here is fresh.
It's a 25 minutes to put in the oven. You're gonna be done.
Great. Okay. Now this Pinot Noir. I don't know if you like Pinot Noir or not, but when it's a good one, it's really, really good. There are a lot of average, mediocre Pinot Noirs out there on the market. This happens to be an exceptionally good one. Now, one of the first things that you get in the nuance, in the nose with Pinot Noir is cherry. And that can tell you, a lot of times they'll put a couple of glasses in front of you and say, well, tell me what kind of wine those are. And they hide the bottle so you have no idea what's in there. And you have to swirl it and smell it and then taste it. The cherry, the raspberry, a little bit of vanilla, and I need to mention about vanilla because vanilla only comes from the barrels, the oak barrels that the wine is aged in. Vanilla does not come with grapes in any way, shape, or form when you're making wine. So if you taste vanilla, it's because that wine has been aged in oak. And the longer it's in oak, the more vanilla it extracts. Another thing would be tobacco. You've heard people say that the nose has a little tobacco to it. That's again coming from the oak barrel and not from the wine per se. So this is really nice wine, great idea for cheese balls, and I have to tell you, the rest of the food here is scrumptious. So one of the things about Felton Cellars is he only makes wine that he would drink. And you know, there's a lot of winemakers that make wine to sell, but they don't necessarily like the wines. And I won't mention the name of the winery, but there's a winery in Paso Robles where the gentleman is known for Cabernet and Zinfandel and Pinot Noir, but he only drinks Chardonnay. He doesn't drink anything else. It's kind of unusual, but he makes great wines. That's kind of a sidebar. But this wine that we're going to taste next is what we call America's favorite. That is Zinfandel. Now, you might have heard of white Zinfandel and Zinfandel. It's the very same grape. The only difference is they pull the Zinfandel grapes out of the field, macerate them with a little bit of acid that comes from the skins and the meat and the seeds, and also a little bit of yeast. And when you take yeast and the sugar from the grapes, you get alcohol. And the longer you allow the juice to macerate, the darker it gets. And that's the color coming from the skins and the meat and the seeds. White Zinfandel, they only do it for a short period of time, so it turns out to be what we like to call in the business a rosé color, or pink, if you will. And that was something that one winery actually kept from going bankrupt, came up with the idea, put it on the market, and it just flew off the shelves because it's a little on the sweet side, and women in particular just loved it to start with, and they feel like they're moving up the ladder from white wine to red wine, only halfway with white Zinfandel. So it worked out pretty good. Felton Cellars, we'll be back right after these messages. Welcome back. One of the things about Zinfandel, I mentioned before we went to the break about it's considered to be America's favorite wine. The reason is Cabernet Sauvignon is already taken. That's to the French. And some of the Syrah, if you go down to Australia as an example, Syrah is the most popular red wine that they consume in Australia, but the Australians have a little slang in the way they say it. They call it Shiraz instead of Syrah. Same exact grape, and it's wonderful. But this Zinfandel now, it comes to us from an area over in San Luis Obispo, west of Paso Robles again, but still in the Paso Robles area. And there's a particular vineyard that is known by winemakers all over the country. It's simply called Old Castile. The Old Castile vineyard is where all the grapes come from this Zinfandel. And Umberto, I'm going to pour you a little bit, see if you like this.
Thank you.
The beautiful part about Zinfandel is it's very food friendly. People that like to do barbecuing and grilling, as an example, Zinfandel is a great wine for that sort of thing. Or if you're into burgers, and everybody in America seems to be right now, burgers and Zinfandel go really well together as well. So let's take a little whiff. Wow, this is really tasty, and I can just see this would go great with the lamb chop.
Oh my goodness.
You know, yeah, that sort of thing. So it's a very tasty product, and it's not real expensive. Again, if you can't find the product in your local retail store, Felton Cellars. Go online, feltonsellars.com, and you see all the different varietals that they have. In fact, while we're sitting here, just a week or so ago, they brought out a Gewürztraminer. Now, that might be a name that you're not familiar with. In the business, we refer to it affectionately as Gwurz, as opposed to saying Gewürztraminer every time. So Gwurz is a great product if you like Asian cuisine or anything that's really spicy. It's a white wine that goes well with spicy food. A red wine that goes well with spicy food is the Zinfandel. So I think it's good. Now, what did Umberto and his staff put together? They have a product here, and correct me if I'm wrong now. You take ground beef, a little bit of garlic, a little bit of onions, some of the special Brazilian spices, parsley, and blend it all together. And then you coat it with the special breading and then deep fry it.
Exactly.
And people go crazy over it.
Oh yeah, because they have cream cheese inside.
Oh, plus cream cheese. I forgot about that. And one of the unique things about it is it has a name that you'll probably never remember, but tell us anyway, what is the name of this product in Brazil?
Oh my goodness. It's really hard to understand, but it's a bolinho de carne.
Okay, I understand.
Portuguese.
Yeah, I'm going to cut it open and show you what we're talking about here.
It's so soft.
It is unbelievably tasty. Take a look at that. Great.
You can see the cream cheese, you can see the parsley.
Right. Boy, I can't wait to dig into it. Well, as soon as we get finished, that's the first thing I'm going to try along with this Zinfandel. So, if you're looking for a red wine other than Cabernet Sauvignon that you want to serve with almost any kind of red meat, whether it's lamb or whether it's beef or even pork, especially burgers or any type of barbecue product, whether it's pork ribs or beef ribs or brisket, Zinfandel is the one you want to know about. So Stelton Fellers, and more importantly, we love this restaurant, Brazilian Steakhouse by the Bertoluccis. Umberto Bertolucci, easy to remember in Green Valley. Come check it out. You've been watching Wines du Jour, and here's to you.
Here we go.
See you next time.
See you.
Switch to DirecTV and find out how to say goodbye to messy cable wires and boxes. America's #1 satellite television provider is the undisputed leader in sports with the most full-time HD channels anywhere. Get DirecTV today and receive a free Genie upgrade. One HD DVR powers your whole home. There's no equipment to buy and no startup costs. Package offers start at just $24.99. There's never been a better time to upgrade your television experience. Call your authorized DirecTV dealer today.